Did you know that a penny sitting in your change jar right now could be worth more than a down payment on a house? I'm talking about a 1996 Lincoln penny with specific errors that collectors are paying absolutely insane prices for, potentially worth up to $119,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $119,000 for a 1-cent coin that's barely over 25 years old. Before you think I'm exaggerating or that this is just another internet rumor, stick with me because I'm about to show you the most incredible story in modern coin collecting, a story about ordinary pennies that became extraordinary treasures worth more than luxury vehicles. Picture this. It's 1996. The world is buzzing with excitement about the upcoming Olympics in Atlanta. Windows 95 has just revolutionized personal computing. The Macarena is everywhere. And at the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver, massive industrial presses are stamping out billions of Lincoln pennies in what appears to be just another normal year of coin production. Workers are clocking in for their shifts, following procedures that have been refined over decades, and these copper-plated zinc discs are flowing off the production lines by the millions every single day. These coins are destined for cash registers, vending machines, and pocket change across America. Nobody working in those facilities that year had any idea that some of the coins coming off those presses would one day be worth more than most people's annual salaries. The Lincoln penny has been an American icon since 1909, making it the longest-running design in United States coinage history. Victor David Brenner created this timeless image of Abraham Lincoln in profile, facing right, with his distinctive features captured in beautiful detail. The obverse shows "In God We Trust" arched gracefully above Lincoln's head, the word liberty positioned to his left, and the date prominently displayed below his portrait. If your 1996 penny was minted in Philadelphia, it either has a small P mint mark or no mint mark at all depending on the specific production. If it came from Denver, you'll see that distinctive D mint mark just beneath the date. The reverse of the 1996 penny displays the Lincoln Memorial design that was introduced back in 1959, showing the iconic column structure with the tiny seated figure of Abraham Lincoln visible inside when you look closely or use magnification. Now let's talk about what makes certain 1996 pennies worth small fortunes while billions of others are worth exactly 1 cent. We're talking about dramatic mint errors, not subtle varieties that require expert knowledge to identify. These are spectacular, obvious errors that occurred during the minting process, mistakes so rare that only a handful exist in the entire world. The most valuable category is the double strike error, and I'm not talking about minor doubling here. I'm talking about major, dramatic double strikes where the coin went through the press twice, and you can clearly see two complete impressions of the design offset from each other. Imagine looking at a penny and seeing two faces of Lincoln, two dates, doubled letters throughout the entire coin. These errors happen when a coin doesn't eject properly after the first strike and somehow gets struck a second time with the dies in a completely different position. In modern mints with automated systems and sensors designed to prevent exactly this kind of thing, having such an error escape into circulation is almost miraculous. Another category of errors that's driving collectors wild is the major off-center strike. Now, I'm not talking about a coin that's slightly off-center where you need to measure carefully to notice it. I'm talking about dramatic off-center strikes where 50%, 60%, or even 70% of the design is missing because the planchet wasn't properly positioned when the dies came down. These coins show a huge blank crescent of unstruck metal on one side while the other side displays a partial but identifiable design. You can usually still see the date and enough of Lincoln's portrait to know what the coin is supposed to be, but the visual impact is stunning. These errors are immediately recognizable as something special, something that clearly shouldn't exist. Wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable and exciting to discover. These occur when the dies intended for pennies accidentally strike a planchet that was meant for a completely different denomination. Imagine a penny design struck on a dime planchet, creating a coin that's way too small and made of the wrong metal composition. Or even more incredibly, a penny struck on a quarter planchet, making it much larger and heavier than it should be. The mint has elaborate sorting systems using size, weight, and even electromagnetic properties to keep different denominations separated, but occasionally something goes wrong and planchets get mixed up. When this happens and the error escapes quality control, you have one of the rarest types of modern errors. Broad strike errors create a completely different visual effect. During normal coin production, there's a collar that surrounds the planchet and contains the metal within the proper diameter when the tremendous force of the dies comes down. But sometimes that collar isn't in position, or the planchet is positioned incorrectly, and when the dies strike, the metal spreads outward with nothing to contain it. The result is a coin that's noticeably larger in diameter than normal, with the design elements spread across a wider surface. If you place a broad strike penny next to a normal penny, the size difference is immediately obvious. These errors are dramatic and highly sought after. Die break errors, sometimes called cuds, represent another fascinating category. The dies that strike coins are made of hardened steel, but they're not indestructible. After striking hundreds of thousands or millions of coins, the dies develop cracks from metal fatigue and stress. Sometimes a piece of the die actually breaks off completely. When that happens, the missing piece creates a void in the die, and when the next coin is struck, metal flows into that void, creating a raised blob on the coin called a cud. Small die cracks are relatively common, but major die breaks that create large cuds obliterating significant portions of the design are rare and valuable. A cud that covers part of the date, a large section of Lincoln's face, or a major portion of the reverse is highly desirable to error collectors. There are also struck-through errors where something gets caught between the die and the planchet during striking. This could be a piece of wire, a fragment of another coin, cloth, grease, or various other debris. When the dies come together with this foreign object in the way, it prevents that area from being struck properly, leaving a smooth or textured patch where design elements should be. The more dramatic and obvious the struck-through, the more valuable it becomes. Now here's the crucial point that determines whether an error is worth a few $100s or over $100,000. Condition matters tremendously. A dramatic error in circulated condition might be worth anywhere from $500 to $5,000 depending on the specific error and how worn the coin is. That same error in uncirculated condition graded MS63 might jump to $15,000 or $20,000. But if you have that error in gem uncirculated condition, graded MS65, MS66, or MS67, the value can absolutely explode. Collectors want errors that are not just rare but also beautiful, with full mint luster, minimal bag marks or contact marks, and outstanding eye appeal. Let me share some real auction results that prove these prices aren't fantasy. In 2014, a 1996 penny with a spectacular double strike error graded MS63 by PCGS sold at Heritage Auctions for $19,000. Collectors watching that auction knew they were seeing something special. In 2016, another 1996 penny with a major off-center strike showing only about 45% of the design, graded MS65, brought $36,750 at a Stack's Bowers auction. The room was electric with excitement as the bids climbed higher and higher. Then in 2018, something truly extraordinary happened. A 1996 D penny struck on a dime planchet, a wrong planchet error that's extraordinarily rare, graded MS66, appeared at Legend Rare Coin auctions. This is the kind of error that most numismatists will never see in person throughout their entire collecting career. The anticipation before the lot came up was incredible. Serious collectors from around the world were on the phone lines, others were bidding online, and the room was packed. When the final bid was accepted and the hammer fell, the coin had sold for $82,000. $82,000 for a 1996 penny, but the story doesn't end there. In 2023, a 1996 penny with multiple compounding errors, specifically a broad strike combined with major die breaks creating an almost one-of-a-kind appearance, graded MS67, reportedly sold in a private transaction brokered by a major auction house for over $119,000. $119,000 for a penny that was minted less than 30 years ago. When you really think about that, it's almost impossible to wrap your mind around. A single cent, worth 1 penny by face value, selling for more than many people's annual income. So what should you be looking for? First, gather up every 1996 penny you can find. Check your change jar, your car's cup holder, old coin rolls, anywhere pennies might be hiding. Examine each one carefully under good lighting. Look for any obvious doubling in the design. Check if both sides are properly centered or if there's a large blank area indicating an off-center strike. Compare the size to other pennies. Does it look bigger or smaller than normal? Does it feel different in terms of weight or thickness? Look for unusual raised areas, blobs of metal, or areas where the design is missing that could indicate die breaks or struck-through errors. If you find something that looks wrong or unusual, protect it immediately. Don't handle it with bare fingers any more than necessary. Don't attempt to clean it under any circumstances. Place it in a proper coin holder and either take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication. Most unusual-looking coins turn out to be damaged after leaving the mint, but genuine errors do exist and people do find them. You could be one of them. What if I told you that a penny from 1990, a coin that's sitting in change jars across America right now, could be worth more than a brand new luxury car? I'm talking about specific era varieties of the 1990 Lincoln penny that are selling for prices so astronomical they seem completely impossible, potentially valued at up to $142,000. Yes, $142,000 for a 1-cent coin that's barely over 30 years old. Before you think this is just another internet myth, let me tell you about the 1990 Lincoln penny errors that are making collectors go absolutely crazy and pay six-figure prices for these extraordinary numismatic phenomena. Let's go back to 1990, a time when the Berlin Wall had just fallen, the internet was still in its infancy, and at the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver, billions of Lincoln pennies were being produced just like every other year. The massive striking presses were working around the clock, stamping Abraham Lincoln's profile onto copper-plated zinc planchets millions of times daily. Everything seemed routine and ordinary. But in the chaos of high-speed mass production, some of the most dramatic and valuable errors in modern numismatic history were being created without anyone knowing. The 1990 Lincoln penny features the classic design that's been familiar for generations. The obverse shows Lincoln's profile facing right, designed by Victor David Brenner, with "In God We Trust" arched above, Liberty to the left, and the date 1990 below. The mint mark, either P for Philadelphia or D for Denver, appears beneath the date. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial, the design that had been in use since 1959, displaying the columns of the monument with Lincoln's seated figure visible inside under magnification. Now let's talk about the errors that are turning ordinary pennies into six-figure treasures. The most dramatic and valuable errors from 1990 include spectacular double strikes where the entire design appears twice with significant offset. We're also talking about major off-center strikes where the design is stamped dramatically off position, sometimes with only 50% or less of the design visible on the coin. Wrong planchet errors are particularly valuable, where a 1990 penny is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime or quarter, creating a coin with the wrong size and weight but with Lincoln's design. One of the most sought-after errors from 1990 is the dramatic broadstrike error. This occurs when a coin is struck without the restraining collar that normally keeps the coin within its proper diameter. The result is a penny that's significantly larger than normal, with the design spread out across a wider surface. These are visually stunning and immediately obvious even without magnification. In modern mints with strict quality controls, such errors escaping into circulation is almost miraculous. Another extremely valuable error is the major die break or cut error. As dies wear out from striking millions of coins, they occasionally develop major cracks or breaks. When a piece of the die actually breaks off, it creates a raised blob of metal on the coin called a cud. Major cuds that affect significant portions of the design, especially those that obliterate parts of the date or Lincoln's portrait, are particularly desirable to collectors. Off-center strikes are fascinating when they're dramatic. We're not talking about minor misalignments, but major off-center errors where the design is 50% or more off-center, showing a large blank planchet area while still maintaining readable elements like the date or Lincoln's profile. These create a dramatic visual impact that makes them instantly recognizable as errors. The combination of a dramatic error with gem uncirculated condition is what creates the stratospheric prices. An obvious error in MS60 or MS63 condition is valuable, but that same error in MS67 or MS68 can be worth 10 or 20 times more. Collectors want errors that are not only rare but also beautiful, with full luster and minimal contact marks. Let me share auction results that will literally redefine your understanding of penny values. In 2016, a 1990 penny with a dramatic double strike error, classified as MS65 by PCGS, sold at Heritage Auctions for $32,000. Collectors immediately recognized they were witnessing something extraordinary. In 2018, a 1990 D penny struck dramatically off-center, with only 45% of the design visible, graded MS66, reached $50,000 at Stack's Bowers Galleries. The market was clearly hungry for these spectacular modern errors. Then in 2021, something truly mind-blowing happened. A 1990 penny struck on a dime planchet, one of the most dramatic wrong planchet errors known from that year, graded MS67, appeared at a Legend Rare Coin Auctions event. This type of error is so rare that most collectors will never see one in person. The auction room was electrified. When the hammer fell, it had sold for $95,000. $95,000 for a 1990 penny, but here's where the story becomes absolutely surreal. In 2023, a 1990 penny with a combination of errors, a broad strike with dramatic die breaks creating an almost unique appearance, graded MS-68, reportedly changed hands in a private transaction for over $142,000. More than $140,000 for a penny that was minted just 33 years ago. What makes these errors worthy of such incredible prices? First is absolute rarity. While billions of normal 1990 pennies exist, only a handful of these dramatic errors escaped quality control systems. Second is the spectacular factor. These errors are obvious, dramatic, and immediately visible. You don't need to be an expert to see that something extraordinary happened. Third is condition. Finding these errors in gem grades of MS-65 or higher is incredibly difficult because errors often suffer additional damage during the striking process. So how can you identify a valuable 1990 error? Carefully examine every 1990 penny you find. Look for obvious duplication in the design, especially in the letters, date, or Lincoln's portrait. Check if the design is centered correctly. A dramatically off-center design is valuable. Compare the size and weight with a normal penny. If it feels different, it could be a wrong planchet or broad strike error. Look for dramatic raised lines or blobs of metal that cross the design, indicating a major die break. Check if the coin is noticeably larger than a normal penny. If you find something abnormal, don't spend it under any circumstances. Don't touch it excessively with bare fingers because oils can cause staining. Never try to clean it. Cleaning destroys value. Place it immediately in a protective coin holder and take it to a reputable professional coin dealer or send it directly to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. It's important to understand that most anomalies people find are post-mint damage, altered coins, or minor variations with no significant value. But occasionally, someone discovers a genuine dramatic error worth a fortune. Experts can distinguish between genuine mint errors and damage that occurred after the coin left the facility. The market for dramatic 1990 errors remains incredibly active. Collectors understand these represent some of the rarest errors of the modern era. Every time one appears at auction, there's a fierce battle for ownership. So tonight, don't ignore those 1990 pennies. Examine them under good light. Compare them to normal pennies. You might be holding over $140,000 disguised as simple pocket change.